Welcome to Mr. Fearhouse. You've stepped into a quiet place, the kind that only exists after midnight, where the air feels heavier and even the walls seem to be listening. Tonight's theme is trespassing, the kind of fear that begins with curiosity and ends with regret. 4 real encounters where a single wrong step across a forbidden line turned into something you can't explain and can't forget. These aren't stories about ghosts in old houses. They're about places that remember who entered and what they did. Places that never let you walk away unchanged. Most people come here, listen, and then pretend it's just another video. But after tonight, you might think twice before crossing a fence or stepping past a no entry sign again. Before we begin, tell me, what time is it where you are right now? And where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. I read everyone now. You might want to leave a light on. The second I heard the floor creak upstairs, I knew I'd made a mistake coming here. It wasn't a loud sound, just that slow, drawn-out groan of wood shifting under weight. But in an empty house, that sound hits different. It doesn't echo. It sinks. The air inside felt thick, like I was breathing someone else's breath. My flashlight shook in my hand, the beam slicing across the dust hanging in the air. Every surface was coated in gray. Furniture, picture frames, even the old staircase in front of me. No one had lived here for at least a decade. That's what the locals said anyway. They also said no one should go inside after dark. I used to think people exaggerated ghost stories. Small towns always do. But standing there, in that ruined entryway, I felt like the walls were watching. I'd been dared to come here. That's how it started. Just another stupid challenge for my channel. Trespassing horror spots, we called it. Except tonight, the others bailed last minute, and I didn't want to look like a coward. So I came alone. I figured I'd get a few shots, fake some noises, edit in some whispers later, and leave with something creepy enough to post. But that sound upstairs wasn't fake. I pointed my light up the staircase. Each step was warped and dark with rot. A family portrait hung crooked near the top. A man, a woman, 2 kids, all smiling too hard. The glass over it was cracked, but their eyes caught the light just right, reflecting it back at me like coins. My chest tightened. I told myself it was wind or maybe an animal. That's always the rational thought, right? A raccoon. A rat, not something else. But there hadn't been any breeze when I came in. The air was dead still. I took 1 step, then another. Each time my boot hit the wood, it answered with a hollow moan. When I reached the top, the air smelled different, like mold mixed with old perfume. I swung the light toward the hallway. Peeling wallpaper, collapsed ceiling tiles, doorways gaping open like mouths. Something scraped inside the far room. Not a big sound, just a gentle drag, like a chair being moved an inch. I froze. The silence after was worse. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. "Hello?" I said, instantly hating myself for it. My voice came out hoarse, too loud. It bounced down the hallway and came back thinner, warped. No answer. I stepped closer, slow. My flashlight flickered for half a second, just enough to make my stomach drop. The batteries were new. That's when I smelled it. Faint but sharp. Like metal. Like blood. The sound came again. A soft shuffle. My throat went dry. I turned the camera toward the noise, whispering into the mic. "I think someone's upstairs. I'm not alone in here." The red recording light blinked back at me. Somehow that tiny light gave me false courage. I edged forward until I reached the doorway. The room beyond was empty. Just an old bed frame, no mattress, a broken dresser, wallpaper peeling down in curls. Dust everywhere. My light scanned across the floors, and that's when I saw it. A footprint clear as day. Not mine, barefoot, smaller. It was pressed into the dust right near the far corner. Another one next to it. And another, leading toward the wall. Except there was no exit there. Just cracked plaster. I swear the temperature dropped 10 degrees. My breath came out white in front of me. Something brushed past my shoulder. I jerked around so fast I almost dropped the camera. Nothing. Just empty hallway. But I could feel it. That electric sense that someone had just been right there behind you, close enough to touch. I whispered, "Who's there?" Still nothing. Then 3 knocks. Slow, deliberate, from downstairs. I backed into the room, flashlight darting everywhere. The knocks came again, this time from closer, on the base of the stairs, I think. My first instinct was to run, but I remembered the collapsed porch out front. I'd have to go through the kitchen to get out. I didn't want to cross that hallway again, but staying here wasn't an option either. I took one last look at the wall with the footprints. The dust around them seemed disturbed now, like something had moved there while I was turned away. I whispered, "Okay, I'm leaving." And the second I said it, another floorboard creaked. This time right outside the room. I raised the camera, trembling so bad the picture was shaking. "Please don't mess with me. I just want to leave." A long pause. Then, in the faintest whisper, a voice said, "Then go." My whole body seized up. The voice sounded like it came from the hallway, but it wasn't sharp or angry, just tired. I didn't wait. I bolted out, down the stairs 2 at a time, my light swinging wildly. When I hit the bottom, I tripped over something, my backpack. I hadn't left it there. It was zipped open, camera gear scattered across the floor. The extra flashlight was missing. I grabbed the bag and kept moving toward the kitchen, breathing like I'd sprinted miles. The floor there was sticky, the smell of mildew stronger. The wallpaper had been stripped, revealing water-stained wood. The back door was at the far end. I made it halfway across when something behind me clicked. It sounded like the camera shutter. I froze, turned slowly, and there it was. The extra flashlight, lying in the doorway I'd just come from. It flicked on by itself. The beam pointed straight at me. No one was holding it. I stumbled backward, yanked the back door, and it didn't budge. Rusted shut. I threw my shoulder into it once, twice, nothing. My lungs burned. Then the flashlight started moving. Not rolling, lifting. It rose a few inches off the floor, the light shaking as if someone invisible were holding it. I don't even remember dropping my own. I just turned and ran toward the front of the house. The front door was still open from when I came in. Except now it wasn't, it was closed. I reached for the knob, ice cold. I twisted it, pulled, nothing. My reflection stared back from the dusty glass panel, except something was off. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. I let go of the handle so fast I fell backward. My reflection didn't move. It kept smiling, head tilted slightly like it was studying me. The air hummed in my ears, pressure building like I was underwater. Then, bang. A door upstairs slammed. Then another, rapid, like something sprinting through the rooms. I scrambled up, turned, and kicked through one of the boarded side windows. The glass shattered outward. Cold air rushed in. I climbed through, scraping my arms on the splinters, and dropped into the overgrown yard outside. The night felt too quiet. I ran until the house was just a shadow behind the trees. Only then did I stop to breathe. The camera was still recording. The red light blinked in my shaking hand. I remember whispering into it, "I'm never coming back here," but the worst part? When I played the footage later that night, I noticed something. At the exact moment the upstairs floor creaked, before I'd even turned my flashlight that way, there was already movement in the frame. A figure, barely visible in the dark, standing at the top of the stairs, and it looked exactly like me. I didn't sleep that night. I tried, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw that face, my own face, standing at the top of those stairs. The footage was still on my camera, sitting there on my desk, waiting for me to watch it again. I told myself not to. I told myself to delete it, burn the memory card, forget I ever stepped foot in that place, but of course I couldn't. It was past 3 a.m. when I finally gave in. I plugged the SD card into my laptop and hit play. At first it looked just how I remembered. Shaky light, dust floating through the air, my nervous breathing. But watching it from the safety of my apartment felt wrong. The silence behind my voice sounded too heavy, too full, like something was waiting in the background of the sound. Then came the creak. I paused it, rewound a few seconds, slowed the playback speed. There, just before the noise, a blur of movement near the top of the staircase. When I stepped through frame by frame, my stomach turned to ice. The light caught a face for half a second, mine. Same hoodie, same jeans, same cut on the palm of my left hand from where I'd scraped the window frame. It wasn't like a reflection, it was solid. I sat back in my chair, hand shaking over the keyboard. I knew I hadn't seen anyone else in that house. There was no way. But there I was, caught on camera, standing where I shouldn't have been. I thought about sending the footage to the others from my crew. We'd gone exploring plenty of abandoned places before. Always for the thrill, always for clicks. But something about this felt different. Not paranormal exactly, just wrong, like it wasn't meant to be seen. I minimized the video and pushed the laptop away. That's when I noticed it. The smell, faint but familiar. That same musty metallic scent from the house. I checked the window. It was closed. My kitchen empty. But the smell was stronger near the desk right where the camera bag sat. The bag was zipped shut. Still, I reached for it slowly, my fingertips tingling like static was running through me. When I unzipped it, the smell hit me hard. Inside, the camera was coated in dust. Not just a little. Thick gray dust like it had been sitting untouched for years. But I'd cleaned it yesterday. The strap was frayed, the plastic casing warped. It didn't make sense. I dropped it back into the bag and stepped away. My heart was thudding so loud it almost covered the sound that came next. A knock, 3 slow, even knocks, from my apartment door. My brain scrambled for logic. Neighbor, maybe? Delivery guy? But it was nearly 4 a.m. The knocks came again. I walked to the door, quiet. Standing just close enough to look through the peephole. No one was there. The hallway was empty. Lights buzzing. Door shut, no shadows, but when I looked down, I saw it. A single wet footprint on the tile right outside my door. Barefoot, small, the same size as the ones in the house. I shut the door fast and locked it, double-bolted. My breath came out shaky, short. I leaned against the wall and tried to convince myself it wasn't real. Maybe I tracked something in. Maybe I was imagining things because I was tired, but I didn't sleep. I couldn't. By sunrise, I'd made up my mind I was going back. I know how that sounds, but part of me needed to see it again. To make it make sense, I packed my gear, new batteries, new flashlight, left the dusty camera behind. By the time I drove back down Calvary Road, the morning fog hadn't lifted. The house looked smaller in daylight, less like a monster and more like a ruin. The porch sagged, the windows black. Still, the closer I got, the more wrong it felt. The air seemed heavier there, like it pressed against my skin. When I stepped through the front gate, I noticed something new. The door was open, wide open. I hadn't left it that way. I was sure of it. The inside was exactly how I remembered, except for one thing. On the wall next to the staircase, written in the dust with a fingertip, were 3 words. Did you see? I stopped breathing. My flashlight shook in my hand. There was no one else there. I called out anyway, "Hello?" and instantly regretted it. My voice didn't echo this time. It just died in the air like the house swallowed it whole. I started recording again. "It's still open," I whispered into the mic. I didn't open it, and there's writing on the wall. Something dripped from above. I aimed the light up the staircase. The steps were wet, darker than before, each one leading toward that same hallway. Part of me screamed to leave, but another part, the stupid, desperate part, needed to see if those footprints were still there. I climbed slowly, the wood soft under my boots. The smell of mold and metal grew stronger. When I reached the top, the hall looked different. Cleaner somehow. The wallpaper that had been peeling yesterday was smooth now, colors faintly visible beneath the grime. The air was warmer. That's when I heard the humming, a soft, steady tune. A woman's voice coming from the same room where I'd seen the footprints. I whispered, "Hello?" The humming stopped. For 3 seconds, the house went completely silent. Then, in a voice that sounded close, too close, she said, "You came back." I turned the light toward the doorway and froze. There was a woman standing there. She wasn't transparent, not some ghostly thing. She looked real, pale but solid, her hair long and dark, her dress old-fashioned and dirt-stained. But the worst part wasn't her face. It was her eyes. They were exactly like mine. She tilted her head slightly, the same way my reflection had in the glass door. "You shouldn't have come back," she whispered. My hand trembled on the flashlight. "Who are you?" She didn't answer. Just smiled, small, tired, like she pitied me. Then the light flickered, maybe once, twice, and she was gone. The room was empty again, but on the wall behind where she'd been standing, the dust was disturbed, and in the center, written with a finger, were 2 new words. Too late. I didn't film anything after that. I ran. When I burst through the front door, I half expected the porch to collapse under me. It didn't. I sprinted straight to my car, heart slamming in my chest, lungs burning. The second I turned the key, the radio came on by itself, static at first, then a voice breaking through. My voice. The exact recording from my video the night before. "I think someone's upstairs. I'm not alone in here." The sound filled the car, overlapping, echoing until I ripped the stereo out of its socket. And even then, I swear I could still hear it. Faint. From the back seat. I didn't tell anyone about what happened when I got back. What would I even say? "Hey, I saw myself in a house that shouldn't exist and now my reflection doesn't look right." Yeah, no, but silence didn't help either. The next few days were strange. The kind of strange that you can't explain to anyone without sounding insane. Started small. The smell came back. First, in that same faint scent of rot and dust, even though I'd washed my clothes twice and thrown the gear into storage. It would come and go like the air was breathing it out of the walls. Then came the dreams. In them, I was always standing at the bottom of those stairs again, flashlight flickering, and someone was standing at the top, just a shadow, just stillness. I'd wake up drenched in sweat every time, gasping like I'd been running. On the third night, I woke up to the sound of the camera beeping. It was on. The one I'd left zipped inside the bag. The red recording light blinked in the dark. I sat up slowly, pulse pounding. The room was cold, too cold. My breath fogged. I crawled toward the desk, grabbed the camera, hit stop. The screen showed one file recorded while I slept. The timestamp said 3:12 a.m. I pressed play. At first, all I saw was my bedroom. Same dim light from the street coming through the blinds, same unmade bed. Then, about halfway through, the frame started to move. The camera tilted up, on its own, toward the mirror on the opposite wall. And there, in the reflection, was me, standing. But I wasn't standing when that was recorded. I was asleep. The reflection turned its head toward the camera, smiled, and whispered something. The mic didn't catch it clearly, but I swear I could hear my own voice say, "Stay." I stopped the video, shut the camera off, and shoved it back into the bag. My whole body was shaking. I didn't know what to do, who to call, what to believe anymore. That was the night I covered every mirror in the apartment. Bedsheet, towels, newspaper, anything, it helped. For a while. But on the fifth night, I woke to a soft tapping sound. It wasn't coming from the door this time. It was coming from behind one of the covered mirrors. Tap, tap, tap. Like fingernails. I sat frozen, staring at the sheet draped over it. The tapping stopped. Then came a slow dragging sound, nails tracing downward. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed my phone, started recording again, whispering under my breath. If anyone ever finds this, something's wrong with my reflection. It's not me. When I pulled the sheet away, the mirror was clean, no dust. No cracks, just my reflection staring back. Only, it blinked a second later than I did. I stepped closer. My reflection smiled. I didn't, I remember whispering, "What do you want?" The reflection tilted its head just slightly like it had before. Then in a voice that sounded just like mine, maybe even was mine, it said, "You shouldn't have gone back." I dropped the phone, stumbled backward, and the mirror cracked down the middle. My reflection stayed still as the glass split like it wasn't part of it anymore. That was when I left. I didn't take anything. I just grabbed my keys and ran. I drove with no destination, just kept moving, Calvary Road replaying over and over in my mind. By the time I stopped, the sun was rising. I was parked outside a gas station halfway to nowhere. My phone buzzed in the seat beside me. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me swipe it open. There was no voice. Just static. Then faintly, my own breathing on the other end, and then my voice. "I think someone's upstairs. I'm not alone in here." The same line. The same tone. I hung up and threw the phone into the back seat. For a few seconds, I just sat there gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady my breath. Then I noticed something outside the window, across the road. Just past the gas station sign, stood a figure, still, watching. The morning light hit their face just enough for me to see it. It was me. Same. Clothes I'd worn the night I ran from the house. Same cut on my palm, Same blank expression. I blinked, and it was gone. By the time I stumbled inside the gas station, I must have looked insane. The clerk, an older guy with tired eyes, asked if I was okay. I told him I'd seen someone outside. He walked to the window, squinted. "Ain't nobody out there," he said. I nodded like I believed him, but I didn't. I could still feel the eyes on me, even from inside. When I paid for gas, the clerk hesitated before handing me my change. He looked down at my hands, frowned, and said, "You all right, son? You been digging in dirt or something?" I looked down. My fingernails were black, packed with mud. I hadn't touched dirt in days. That was the moment I realized whatever I'd brought back from that house. It wasn't just in my head, it was in me. I drove straight to a motel outside of town, one of those roadside places with buzzing neon and stale air. I locked the door, shoved a chair under the handle, and tried to convince myself I was safe for the night. But around midnight, I woke to the sound of the bathroom faucet running. I hadn't turned it on. The light in there was flickering. On, off, is casting flashes across the room. Each flicker showed the mirror behind the sink. And each flicker, my reflection was standing a little closer to the glass. The final flicker stayed on. My reflection lifted its hand. I felt my own hand rise, even though I didn't move it. Like invisible strings were attached. My heart was slamming in my chest so hard it hurt. Then it spoke, soft, calm, my own voice again. "You left the door open." I turned toward the motel door, and the knob was turning. Slowly, I grabbed the chair, shoved it tighter under the handle. The wood groaned. Something on the other side pushed once, hard, then stopped. For the next hour I sat on the floor, shaking, watching the door, the mirror, the walls. The knocking didn't come again. But when the sun came up and I finally dared to move, I saw muddy footprints leading from the bathroom to where I sat, small ones, barefoot, and they stopped right in front of me. I didn't make it through that next day like a normal person. I sat in the car in the motel parking lot for hours, engine off, just thinking. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept replaying everything, the woman's voice, the reflection, the muddy footprints that weren't mine. By noon, I'd made up my mind. It didn't matter if it killed me. I had to go back to the house, not because I was brave and because I couldn't live another day like this. With something watching from every reflection, every dark corner, every silence that lasted too long. The drive back down Calvary Road felt endless. Trees leaned in close, branches scraping the roof like fingers. My phone had no signal halfway there, and the GPS froze at a blank patch of map, but I found it. The house looked different again. The front door was gone this time, just a black mouth where it used to be. The windows looked like eyes, hollow and wet. And the air, God, the air, felt heavy, humid, like breathing through someone's skin. I parked across the road and sat there with the camera on my lap. I'd promised myself I wouldn't film again, but something about it felt right. Like proof. Like if I recorded it, it would become real and not just in my head. The second I stepped inside, the smell hit me again, stronger this time. Rot, rust, and something sour like old milk. The words on the wall were still there. "Did you see?" And below them now, faint but fresh, "Do you remember?" I whispered, "No, I don't." The air stirred, soft as breath. A whisper brushed my ear. "Yes, you do." I spun around, no one there. Just the staircase stretching up into shadow. Something about the light caught my eye. The upstairs window glowed faintly, daylight filtering through, but the shadow on the stairs didn't match mine. It was taller. I lifted the camera, hands trembling, and started walking. Every step creaked louder than before. By the time I reached the top, the hallway looked exactly as it had that first night. Torn wallpaper, dust, broken furniture. Except the picture frames were filled now. All the walls were covered in them, hundreds of photos. Most were faded, but a few were clear enough to see faces, people I didn't know. And in the center of each picture, in the background somewhere, in a window, a mirror, a dark doorway, there was me. Same clothes, same face, watching. I dropped the camera. It clattered to the floor and landed facing up at me. The red light still blinking, my chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe. "Who are you?" I whispered. That's when I heard the hum again. Soft, low, like before. The woman's voice, only now it wasn't just one voice. It was many. Overlapping, whispering. breathing in rhythm. I followed it down the hall, past the room with the footprints, past the cracked ceiling, until I reached a door at the very end. One I hadn't seen before. The knob was cold and slick. When I pushed it open, the smell nearly made me gag. The room was filled with old furniture, stacked high, chairs, mirrors, broken lamps, and more of those framed photos. In the center of the pile sat a single mirror, tall, cracked down the middle, and in the reflection, the room was empty, no furniture. No clutter, just me, but not me now, me. From the first night, flashlight, camera in hand, staring back at myself. My reflection blinked once, tilted its head, and smiled. "You came back," it said. I stumbled backward, tripping over the frames. The sound of glass shattering filled the room. My reflection stepped closer to the inside of the mirror, pressing its hand flat against the glass. Cracks spidered outward, and the humming grew louder. Layers of voices all around me now, whispering words I couldn't understand. I screamed, "What do you want from me?" And every voice, mine, hers, theirs, answered together. "To remember." Then the mirror shattered. The sound was deafening. Shards exploded outward, slicing the air, but when they hit the floor, they didn't scatter. They stayed suspended, hanging there, floating like pieces of light. In each shard, I saw something different. Me as a kid. Me as a teenager. Me walking past mirrors, windows, screens. And in every reflection, something else was standing behind me, just out of sight. It had always been there, watching, waiting. I fell to my knees, clutching my head, trying to block it out. But the voices crawled inside my skull, whispering through my own breath. "You were never alone. You let us in. You opened the door." And then, silence. Every shard dropped to the floor at once. The humming stopped. I lifted my head, shaking. The mirror was gone. The walls bare. Only one photo remained on the ground in front of me. A family portrait. The same one from the top of the stairs. Only this time, there were 5 people in it. A man, a woman, 2 kids, and me. Standing in the doorway behind them, the air shifted, cold again, pulling at my hair. I heard footsteps on the stairs, slow, deliberate, getting closer. I grabbed the camera off the floor and pointed it toward the door. The lens caught movement, something stepping into the light, the woman from before. Her head tilted, eyes hollow. She looked right at me, and for the first time I noticed the small scar on her left hand, the same one I had. "Do you remember now?" she asked softly. And I did. The flashes came all at once. My first time exploring this place years ago, before the channel, before everything. The crash, the scream, the glass, the blood. I hadn't escaped the house that night. I'd died here. And everything after, the channel, the dares, the videos. None of it was real. I was the thing that haunted Calvary Road. The realization hit like a wave, cold and quiet. The woman smiled faintly, reached out a pale hand and whispered, "It's time to go home." The camera flickered once, twice, and then went black. They found the footage 3 days later. A hiker passing through said he saw a car parked at the edge of the trees, door open, engine dead. Inside was a backpack, a dead phone, and a camera. The final clip showed a man walking into the house and never coming back out, but the really strange part, the part that made the police stop investigating, was the last frame of that video, just before it cut to black. The camera turned toward the front door, and for a split second, a reflection appeared in the dusty glass. It wasn't the man who'd been filming, it was someone else, smiling, and behind them, through the glass, the door to the house slowly closed. The road wasn't even on the map. I checked 3 times. Google Maps, Apple Maps, even the old paper one in the glove compartment that my dad kept for road trips. But none of them showed the narrow dirt path that split off from Highway 92, just past the rusted sign that said, Brant County, Pop, 812. I shouldn't have turned onto it. God, I shouldn't have. But we were lost. The gaslight had been blinking for the last 20 minutes, and my girlfriend at the time, Mara, was getting irritated. She had that tone where she wasn't yelling yet, but you knew she was close. "Babe, just turn down there," she said, pointing out the windshield. "It looks like a shortcut." The trees swallowed the road the second I turned. The sun disappeared behind them, and everything went dim, like stepping into a basement. The GPS stopped updating. The signal bar flickered, then went gray. I remember how quiet it was. Not just no cars or people, I mean quiet. No wind, no birds. Even the tires sounded muted on the dirt. "Where are we?" Mara muttered. She leaned forward, squinting at the road. "This is weird. There's no houses, no mailboxes," I tried to joke. "Guess we found the middle of nowhere." But something about the way the road curved, slow, winding, too smooth, made it feel like we weren't supposed to be there. Like the land itself was folding around us. We drove another 10 minutes. The trees finally opened up, revealing what looked like a massive cornfield stretching on forever. No signs, no fences, no farmhouse, just an ocean of tall green stalks under a sky that looked off, too pale. Then out of nowhere I saw a porch light flicker ahead, just a faint yellow glow in the distance. "There," Mara said, "a house. Maybe we can ask for directions." I slowed down as we approached. The house was small, 2 stories, paint peeling off the sides. But it wasn't abandoned. The light was on, and there were fresh tire tracks in the dirt driveway. That's what convinced me to pull in. I parked near the front steps and left the engine running. The air smelled strange when I opened the door, sweet, like rotting fruit. I could hear something faint from the field, a low rustling whisper that didn't sound like the wind. Mara didn't notice. She was already walking toward the porch, calling out, "Hello, anyone home?" Her voice seemed to vanish into the air. No echo, no bounce. There was a screen door that creaked when she touched it. She looked back at me. "It's open." That should have been the moment we left. But the gas tank was empty, and I told myself people in the country leave doors unlocked all the time. I stepped inside after her. The air inside was heavy, warm, but stale, like the house hadn't been aired out in years. The furniture was old but clean. There were framed photographs on the walls, families standing in fields, men in overalls, women in long dresses. None of the faces looked familiar. None of them smiled. "Hello?" I called out again. My voice sounded muffled, like the house was swallowing it. No answer. We moved through the living room, the kitchen, and a hallway that led toward a back door. There were muddy footprints on the floor, big ones like work boots. Fresh. Mara stopped beside the dining table. "This food's warm." There were 2 plates, both half-eaten. Stew or soup, hard to tell. Steam still rising. "Maybe they just stepped out," she whispered. The thought made my skin crawl. "Stepped out to where?" I went toward the back door, trying to listen for anyone outside. The only sound was that faint rustling again, steady, rhythmic, like something brushing through the cornrows. I cracked the door open and looked out. The field looked endless, waving just slightly. The sky was a dull gray now. No sun visible, no shadows. I was about to step out when I noticed something near the edge of the field. A scarecrow. It wasn't upright, though. It was hanging. Arms stretched sideways, head tilted back, mouth open. Its clothes were torn, but its skin, because it looked like skin, was too detailed to be fake. I could see fingernails, a patch of stubble on the jaw. I slammed the door. Mara jumped. "What? We need to go. What did you see?" "Just, it's nothing. Let's go." She didn't move. "You're freaking me out." I grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward the front door. But when I opened it, the porch was gone. I swear to God, there was just dirt. The steps led straight into the cornfield, no driveway. No car. I froze. My stomach dropped so fast I felt dizzy. I ran outside anyway, stumbling into the dirt. The corn loomed tall around us, swallowing the horizon. I turned, the house was still there, but everything else was gone. Mara's voice cracked behind me. "Eli, where's the car?" I don't know. "It was right here." She started breathing fast. "This isn't funny. Mara, I'm not joking. It was right here." We stood there, surrounded by whispering stalks, the house behind us like a shadow. The light in the window flickered again, brighter now. Then it went out. Just like that. Pitch black. We didn't have flashlights. My phone wouldn't turn on. Dead battery, even though it was half full an hour ago. Mara grabbed my arm. "Someone's coming." I heard it too. Footsteps slow, steady in the dirt behind the house. I couldn't see them, but I could hear the sound. Boots crushing gravel, then softening as they reached the porch. The screen door creaked again. Then it slammed. Mara gasped. "Eli, I didn't know what to do." The dark was thick, heavy. The only light now came from the faint moon above the cornfield, pale like it was shining through smoke. I whispered, "We go back in." "What?" "No, we don't have anywhere else to go." We moved toward the house, slow, quiet, keeping low. Every board on the porch groaned under our weight. The front door was still open. I pushed it gently, listening. The air inside had changed. It smelled sour now, like damp wood and mold. We crept through the hallway again. The plates on the table were gone. The tablecloth was folded neat like someone had just cleaned up. I whispered, "Hello?" No answer. Then from upstairs a sound, creaking floorboards. Someone walking slow, pacing. Mara squeezed my hand. "We need to leave. I'm trying to find a phone or Eli." Her voice went flat, whisper thin. I turned to her. She was staring at the wall. There were new pictures hanging there, same frames, same positions. But now the photos were different. The people in them looked like us. In one, Mara was standing in the kitchen wearing the same clothes she had on now. In another, I was by the window, looking outside. And in the last one, we were both sitting at the table, bowls of stew in front of us, smiling. I stepped back so fast I hit the chair. No, that's not real." Mara's breath came in short, shaky gasps. How did they— Footsteps again, coming down the stairs this time. Heavy, deliberate. Each one made the house creak like it was in pain. Mara clung to me. "Eli." I couldn't see who it was. Just a tall shadow descending slowly into the hall. I grabbed the nearest thing, a rusted fire poker leaning by the fireplace, and lifted it in front of me. "Who's there?" I shouted. The steps stopped. Then a man's voice, calm, low, and close. "You're late for dinner." The air went cold instantly. I could see my breath. The lights flickered on by themselves, every bulb dim, buzzing. The man stood at the bottom of the stairs now. Overalls, boots caked in mud, face pale and blank like something carved from wax. His eyes looked cloudy, like they were reflecting light that wasn't there. Mara whimpered, "Please, we just need gas. We're lost." The man tilted his head. "You shouldn't be here." I swallowed hard. "We know, we'll go. We just need to find our car." He smiled. Or tried to. It looked wrong, too slow. No one leaves once they eat. My brain couldn't process it. I backed up, dragging Mara with me. The man didn't move. He just stood there watching. Then, footsteps upstairs. Not just one person, several. Walking in sync. I turned toward the stairs. Shadows moved across the landing. Human shapes, one after another. All turning to look down at us. Every one of them had that same cloudy-eyed stare. The man at the bottom whispered, "Dinner's ready." Mara screamed. I grabbed her hand and bolted for the front door. It slammed shut before I could reach it. The doorknob burned my palm. It was hot, searing, like metal left in the sun. I yanked it anyway, desperate. But it didn't move. Behind us, the footsteps grew louder. The air thickened. I could hear something and whispering. Dozens of voices all at once, overlapping, chanting, crying, laughing. Mara was sobbing, "Please, please, I want to go home." The man said softly, "You already are." I don't remember deciding to move. 1 second I was frozen at that locked door. The next I was dragging Mara through the kitchen. My heart was slamming so hard I could barely breathe. The air stank of rot now, like something had crawled into the walls and died. The lights flickered again, slower this time, as if the electricity itself was dying. Every pulse of light showed a glimpse of those figures from the stairs. Gray faces, hollow eyes, their feet dragging on the wood like they were underwater. I yanked Mara through the back door. It opened this time. The moment we crossed the threshold, the sound changed. No whispers, no footsteps, just the rustle of corn. The stalk swayed though there was no wind. We stumbled into the dirt, half running, half falling, until the house was a fading silhouette behind us. Mara was shaking. "Where are we going?" "Just away," I said, even though I had no idea which direction was away. We pushed into the cornfield. The stalks were tall, brushing my shoulders, thick enough to block any view of the house. Every step crunched through dry soil. My arm scratched against leaves, and the smell, it wasn't like corn anymore. It smelled like mildew, like wet metal. I turned once to look back, expecting to see that flickering porch light again, but the house was gone. Just black. Mara stopped suddenly. "Do you hear that?" I froze. At first I thought it was the sound of the corn swaying again. Then I realized it was breathing, slow, deep, just ahead of us. I raised my phone to use the flashlight, but the screen stayed black. Not even a flicker. Dead. "Hello?" I called out before I could stop myself. My voice came out hoarse. The breathing stopped. For a few seconds there was silence. Then, a whisper, close enough to feel the air shift. "Turn around." I spun instantly, nearly losing my balance. Nothing. Just rows and rows of corn, stretching into the dark. Mara clung to my arm. "Eli, let's go back." "No, we can't. That thing was in there." Her nails dug into my sleeve. "At least there's walls." She wasn't wrong. Every direction looked the same. Every rustle sounded like footsteps. It felt like the field was alive, closing in. I took her hand and started walking faster, following what I hoped was a straight line. After a few minutes, we came to a clearing, just a small patch of dirt where the corn had been flattened. In the middle was something shiny, a gas can. It looked new, red plastic, half full. Mara stepped toward it, her voice breaking. "Oh my God, that's ours." From the trunk, my throat went dry. "That's impossible." "The car's, I put a sticker on it, see?" She pointed. There it was, a little blue smiley face she'd used to label our camping gear. Before I could say anything, the field around us began to move. The stalks rippled one after another, as if something large was circling us beneath them. Mara backed up. "Eli?" I grabbed the gas can just to have something in my hands. "Run, we sprinted." The dirt shifted under my shoes, uneven, soft, like it had been dug up. Something brushed my leg, cold, wet. I didn't look down. When we finally burst out of the corn again, the air felt different, colder, sharper. Ahead of us was another house. Smaller, older, no light this time. I stopped dead. No. That's the same house." Mara shook her head. "No, it's not. It can't be, but it was. Same porch, same steps, same crooked door. Except now the windows were dark and there was no sound at all." I walked closer, my chest heaving. Maybe there's a car here. Maybe someone... The front door creaked open before I touched it. Inside, faint candlelight flickered. Mara's voice was trembling. "Eli, please don't," but I couldn't stop. I stepped over the threshold again. The air felt heavier, pressing down on my shoulders. The house smelled like damp earth, like the cornfield had grown through it. This time, the photos on the wall were different again, no longer pictures of us. Now they showed dozens of faces. Men and women, kids, some smiling, most not. Every photo had the same faint gray tint, like they'd been exposed to smoke. At the bottom corner of each one, someone had carved a number into the frame. The most recent was 47. The face in it was mine. Mara's voice cracked behind me. "Eli, there's another one." She pointed to the next frame. Number 48. It was her. We stood there in silence. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I was going to vomit. Something dripped from above. Slow, heavy drops hitting the floor. I looked up. The ceiling was wet. Brown water oozed between the boards, dripping steadily. It smelled like iron and mold. Then I realized it wasn't water. I wiped a drop from my arm and saw red blood. The moment I understood, the lights went out. Pitch black again. Mara screamed. I reached for her, but my hand hit air. "Mara!" Footsteps pounded across the floorboards. Hers, running. "Mara, stop! Wait!" I stumbled through the dark, hitting walls, knocking over chairs. The whispering was back, louder, sharper, like the house was filled with people murmuring in the next room. Then, a sound from behind me, the soft scrape of something being dragged across the floor. I turned slowly. In the faint light from outside, I saw a shape crawling out of the hallway. Human, but wrong. Its limbs bent in ways they shouldn't. Its head tilted too far back, mouth gaping. It was wearing Mara's hoodie. I froze. Couldn't breathe. It crawled toward me on all fours, its hands leaving streaks of blood on the wood. I backed up until my shoulders hit the wall. "Mara?" The thing twitched. The neck snapped forward like a puppet on a string. Its voice came out garbled, layered, hers but not. "You said we'd go home." My throat closed. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The thing started laughing, a wet, choking sound that turned into a cough. It tilted its head, eyes rolling, and whispered, "You're next." I finally bolted, tearing through the kitchen, past the table, into the hallway. The back door was open again, the field behind it glowing faintly under a pale sky. I didn't care. I ran straight into it. I didn't stop until my lungs burned and my vision blurred. When I finally looked up, the house was gone again. This time, there was nothing but corn in every direction. Mara wasn't behind me. I shouted her name until my throat went raw. No answer. Then, from somewhere deep in the field, a light flickered. Yellow, soft, distant. The porch light. It was back. I stumbled toward it, half crying, half gasping, until I broke through the last row of corn. And there it was again. The same house. The same steps. The same porch light flickering like a heartbeat. Only this time the car was back in the driveway. Our car. Every nerve in my body screamed no, but I couldn't think. I ran to it, yanked the door open. The keys were in the ignition. Mara was sitting in the passenger seat. She turned her head slowly toward me, smiling. "You took forever." Her voice was calm, like nothing had happened. "Mara, where did you and what? Start the car," she said. Her hands were folded neatly in her lap. Too neatly. I could see dirt under her nails, deep in the creases. I hesitated, then turned the key. The engine roared to life. I didn't look at her again. I just hit the gas and tore down the road. But the headlights didn't show pavement anymore. Just more dirt, more fields. The GPS came back on by itself. The screen glitched, lines running across it, then froze on a single word. "Stay." I slammed the brakes. The road was gone again, replaced by rows of corn. Mara leaned closer, her voice soft, almost kind. "We're already here, Eli." I turned to her. She wasn't smiling anymore. Her eyes were cloudy gray. I don't remember screaming, but I must have, because my throat hurt when I came to. The car was still idling. Headlights pointed into the field, beams cutting through thick fog that hadn't been there before. My hands were locked on the steering wheel, white-knuckled. Mara sat beside me, still. I didn't look at her. I couldn't. Every instinct in me said don't. The air inside the car was heavy and damp, smelling of dirt and something sweet, like spoiled fruit again. My chest tightened with every breath. I kept staring at the fog, trying to see any road, any sign, but it was just gray and endless. "Mara," I said quietly. She didn't answer. "Mara." Her head turned slowly, too smoothly. "Why'd you stop?" I can't see." "There's no road," she smiled. "Then go back." I shook my head. "No, we're getting out of here." She didn't blink. Her voice dropped, almost a whisper. "You already tried that." Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. I turned to look at her, just a glance, and froze. Her eyes weren't just gray now. They were cloudy, milky, like there was something behind them pressing forward. Her skin looked stretched, too tight around the mouth. I fumbled for the door handle. "Get out." "Please, Mara, get out." She tilted her head. "It's not polite to leave dinner early." Then she smiled wider, and I saw it. Dirt packed between her teeth. I yanked the door open and stumbled out. The cold hit me hard. My shoes sank into soft mud, even though I could have sworn the ground was dry before. The fog curled around my legs, cold and alive. Behind me, the car door creaked open again. I didn't look back. I just ran. The corn swallowed me whole. Every stalk brushed against my shoulders, my face. The air was thick with the smell of wet soil and something metallic. My heart was pounding so loud I couldn't hear anything else until I did. Footsteps. Behind me. Not running. Just walking. Slow. Deliberate. I risked a glance over my shoulder. Nothing but fog. Then a voice drifted through the field. Soft, calm, familiar. "Mara's waiting." I stopped dead. My breath came in sharp bursts. That voice. It was the man from the house. "Stay where you are," I shouted. I have a weapon." A low chuckle. "You left it in the kitchen." He was right. The fire poker was gone. My pockets were empty. I started running again, cutting through rows of corn until I broke through into another clearing. My lungs burned. My shirt stuck to my back. This clearing was different. Circular, surrounded by old wooden posts like a fence that had long rotted away. In the middle was a scarecrow. At least I thought it was a scarecrow. Then I saw the shoes. Sneakers. White, dirty, familiar. They were mine. My stomach dropped. The thing hanging there wore my jacket, my jeans. The face was covered with a burlap sack, but the shape of it, the size, the shoulders, it was me. I stumbled backward, bile rising in my throat. No, 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 the whispering started again. This time it came from everywhere, circling me, words I couldn't make out. Low, fast, like dozens of people whispering through clenched teeth. I clamped my hands over my ears. Stop, please, just stop! The voices grew louder, angrier, until one cut through all the rest, sharp and clear. Eat. The ground shifted under me, softening like wet sand. I looked down and saw hands pushing up through the dirt, dozens of them pale and thin, grabbing my ankles, my calves. I kicked and screamed, trying to break free, but they held tight, pulling. The mud rose to my knees. I clawed at the ground, trying to crawl out. My fingers dug into something solid, wood. A step, the porch. I looked up and the house again, close enough to touch. The light over the door flickered once, twice, then stayed on. I scrambled toward it, dragging my legs free from the hands. They clawed at my shoes as I crawled up the steps, slamming the door behind me. Silence. The air inside the house was warm again. The smell was gone. The lights were steady. Everything looked normal, too normal. The pictures on the wall were empty now, just blank frames. The table was set with 2 bowls of stew, steam curling up in slow ribbons, and Mara was sitting at the table. She looked like herself again, clean, calm. Her hair was dry, her clothes spotless. She smiled when she saw me. Hey, she said softly. You found your way back. I was shaking. My voice came out broken. What's happening? She tilted her head the same way that Man had. You were lost. But you're home now, I backed up. This isn't real. Her eyes followed me. You keep saying that. She reached out, gesturing toward the chair opposite her. Sit down. Eat something. You'll feel better. The bowl in front of her was full of that same stew, thick brown bits of something floating in it. The smell hit me hard. Sweet, rotten, wrong. I shook my head. Where's the car? She smiled. Outside, waiting. Then let's go. Her smile faded. You don't want to leave. Not after all this. I turned toward the door, but it was gone. The wall was solid wood now. No handle, no frame. I spun around. Every window had vanished too. Mara, I whispered. She stood up slowly, the chair legs scraping against the floor. You shouldn't have left me out there. I tried to find you. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You left me. Something inside her face shifted then, like her skin rippled under the surface. Her eyes rolled back until only white showed. Her mouth opened wider than humanly possible, and a sound came out. Not a scream, not a cry, but the sound of wind rushing through hollow wood. The lights exploded above us. I ran. I didn't even look where. I slammed through the hallway down what should have been the back door, but it opened into the field again. The sky outside wasn't gray anymore. It was red. I stumbled forward, gasping for air that felt hot, choking. The corn swayed violently now, like there was a storm, but there was no wind on my face. Behind me, I heard the door creak open again. Mara? I whispered. Footsteps followed me into the field, not just hers, dozens. I turned once. The house glowed faintly behind me, and in its doorway, silhouettes. All those cloudy-eyed people I'd seen before. Men, women, kids, all walking into the corn, slow and steady, like they knew exactly where I was. I ran until I couldn't anymore. The field opened again. Another clearing. But this time there was a single object in the middle, a wooden sign half buried in dirt. I wiped the mud away. The words carved into it were rough but clear. Calvary Farm, Estuer, 1924, everyone returns. I stared at it, shaking. My mind couldn't hold on to what I was seeing. It just felt wrong, ancient, heavy. Behind me, the whispers came again. Closer now. I turned slowly. The first figure stepped out of the corn. It was me, but not quite. Its skin was gray, its eyes cloudy, and its mouth hung open in that same warped smile. It raised a hand, my hand, and then pointed back toward the house. Go home, it said, in my voice. Then everything went black. When I woke up, it was morning, bright, clear, normal. I was sitting in the driver's seat of the car. The road stretched out ahead of me. The GPS was back. No fog, no cornfield, no house in sight. Mara was asleep beside me, her head against the window. She looked peaceful. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd dreamed it. Then I looked down, on my jeans, dried mud, the same thick, dark kind from the field, and under my fingernails, black dirt. Mara stirred beside me. She opened her eyes slowly, smiled, and whispered, "We're home." I didn't say anything, but when I looked in the rearview mirror, the reflection wasn't mine. It was smiling. I didn't move for a long time, just sat there staring into that mirror, at him, at me. The reflection smiled when I didn't. Its eyes were slightly off, wider, brighter. The smile too deliberate, too knowing. I blinked hard, and it blinked a beat too late. I turned away fast, heart pounding. "Mara," I said quietly. "We're leaving now." She rubbed her eyes and yawned. "We already did." "No." I gripped the steering wheel. "We're really leaving. We're not stopping again, not for gas, not for food, nothing. We just drive until we hit the next town." She looked at me, confused. "What are you talking about?" "The house. The field, that thing." "What house?" Her voice was calm, too calm. I stared at her. "Don't mess with me, Mara." "I'm not," she said, eyes narrowing. "You fell asleep while driving. We almost hit a deer. I told you to pull over." I looked around. The road stretched endlessly ahead and behind us. No sign of any field or fog. My phone, dead earlier, now showed full battery. GPS marked us right where we'd started, 30 miles from Calvary Road. I rubbed my temples. No, I remember, babe," she said softly. "You need to rest." Her voice gentle, reassuring, the way she always sounded when she was worried about me. But my hands were trembling, because when she touched my arm, her skin was cold. Not just cool, corpse cold. I pulled away without thinking. She frowned. "Don't," I whispered. "What's wrong?" I didn't answer. I started the car. She stared at me for a long second, then leaned back in her seat, silent. We drove. The hours dragged by. The sun crawled higher, but it didn't feel like day. The light looked wrong, too bright, too sharp. Like it was shining through glass. Every mile, the world around us seemed emptier. No cars, no signs, just the same stretch of road, lined with trees that never changed. At one point, I caught a glimpse of something in the rearview mirror. A figure standing in the middle of the road behind us. Just a shadow at first. Then it lifted its arm, waving slowly. I blinked. Gone. "Mara," I said. "Did you see that?" She didn't answer. I turned slightly. She was staring out the window, whispering something I couldn't hear. "Mara?" Her lips kept moving, soundless. I leaned closer. "What are you saying?" Her head turned slowly toward me. Her eyes were wet, glassy. "Don't you remember?" she whispered. "He said everyone returns." I slammed the brakes. The car screeched to a stop. "Gravel sprayed against the fenders. What did you say?" She blinked, looking confused again. "What?" You said..." I didn't say anything. My skin went cold. I looked ahead where the road was gone. No asphalt. No lines, just dirt. We were back on Calvary Road. The fog rolled in again, thick and sudden, swallowing everything. I could barely see past the hood. The engine sputtered like it was choking. Mara sighed softly beside me. "We're here." My hands tightened on the wheel. No, we left. She smiled faintly. "You can't leave home." The headlights flickered, then went out. Darkness. Pure, suffocating dark. Something moved outside. Slow footsteps on gravel. A shape passed in front of the car, blocking what little light was left. I reached for my phone, but it was dead again. The footsteps stopped right outside my window. Then, a soft tap. I froze. Another tap. "Mara," I whispered. She was looking straight ahead now, smiling. The tapping grew louder, faster until it turned into pounding. I flinched back. Then through the glass I saw it, a hand, pale, mud-slick. Fingernails black and cracked. I grabbed the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. Locked. "Mara, open your side." She didn't move. The pounding stopped. Then the hand slowly slid down the window, leaving a long smear of dirt. I was shaking so badly I could barely think. Then, without warning, the back door clicked. I spun around and saw movement in the back seat, a shape sitting there, a face in the dark, half lit by the dashboard glow. It was me. Grinning mud dripping from its hair. "Drive," it said. In my voice, I screamed, hit the gas, and the car lurched forward. The fog swallowed us whole. I didn't look back. We drove until night fell again. I don't know how long. Maybe hours, maybe minutes. Time didn't work right anymore. The GPS spun uselessly, blinking in circles. Mara hadn't said a word. She just stared out her window, humming something soft and broken. Finally, the road curved, and there it was. The house. Right where it had always been. Lights glowing. Door open. Steam rising from the kitchen window like someone had just cooked dinner. I stopped the car, breathing hard. "No, I'm not going in there again." Mara turned to me. Her voice was gentle.
"Then where will you go?"
"I'll drive forever if I have to." She smiled sadly. "You already have." I looked at her. Her reflection in the window didn't move with her. I swallowed hard. "You're not Mara." Her smile widened. "Neither are you." Before I could react, she reached out, grabbed my wrist, and pressed my hand against my chest. The skin there was soft, cold, and still. No heartbeat. My vision blurred. The air in the car grew thick, heavy. "Mara," I gasped. "Please." She leaned closer, whispering into my ear. Everyone returns. I woke up standing in the field. The car was gone. The fog, gone. The sky overhead was pale gray, the kind that promised rain. In the distance, the farmhouse loomed, quiet, almost peaceful. Smoke drifted lazily from the chimney. I wanted to run, but my legs didn't move. My hands were coated in mud, and something about the air felt wrong, too warm, too still. Then I heard a faint voice behind me. "Hey." I turned. A man stood there, dirty, scared, holding a phone. His clothes were modern, his eyes wide. "Are you okay?" he asked. "You look lost." I opened my mouth to speak, but the words came out slow, like through water. "You shouldn't be here," he frowned. My GPS led me down this road. "Calvary, go," I said. "Please, leave now." He took a step closer. "What is this place?" The wind picked up, carrying the faint sound of whispering. The corn rustled, and behind him I saw movement. Shapes stepping out from the rows. Faces half hidden by fog. One of them looked like Mara. Another looked like me. He turned to look. Confused, and I felt something pull at my chest, a force dragging me backward toward the house. My feet moved on their own. The man shouted, "Hey, wait!" But I couldn't stop. I was being pulled home. The house's front door opened by itself, light spilling out onto the porch. Warm, golden light. Inside, the table was set. 2 bowls. Steam rising. The smell of stew filled the air. I walked to the table, sat down. The chair creaked under me. Across from me, Mara smiled. "You made it back," she said softly. I looked down at my hands. The mud was gone. Clean now. Outside, I heard tires crunching on gravel, the sound of another car pulling in. Mara glanced toward the window, smiling wider. "Dinner's ready. That's where I've been ever since. I don't eat. I don't sleep. The house never changes. The stew never cools. Sometimes I see new faces at the table, travelers, lost drivers, people looking for help, and every time, I tell them the same thing. Don't stop here, please, just keep driving, but they never listen. They always think it's just a story. And then the fog rolls in again, and the door opens and another voice whispers, "Everyone returns." The second the flashlight flickered, I knew we'd made a mistake going down there. The air was already stale, thick with the smell of rust and rot, like wet pennies and moldy rags. My throat itched every time I breathed. Behind me, the tunnel stretched back into total black, a single pinprick of daylight from the hole we'd climbed through. "Yo, dude," Eli whispered behind me, his voice bouncing off the concrete walls. "Tell me this is worth it." I swallowed, adjusting my grip on the flashlight. "It's gonna be fine. We're just getting some footage, that's it." My voice didn't sound convincing, not even to me. We were standing in a forgotten maintenance tunnel beneath Brantley Park, or what was left of it. They'd fenced the whole place off a decade ago after the sinkholes started opening up near the old mental hospital. Urban legends spread fast after that. Stuff about sealed-off corridors, screams under the ground, missing kids. We weren't here for ghost stories, though. We were here for YouTube. Eli ran a small exploration channel called Dead Ends, and I was his camera guy. Mostly unpaid, mostly stupid. He'd found an old city blueprint online showing unmapped infrastructure under the park. We both knew what that meant. Views. Now we were 50 feet below the surface, our only light source a dying flashlight and Eli's GoPro headlamp. "You're recording?" I asked. He tapped the camera on his head. "Always." "Good. If something happened, at least one of us would have proof." We started walking. The tunnel was narrow, maybe 4 feet wide, 7 feet tall, lined with rusted pipes that dripped steadily from somewhere above. Every sound echoed too loud. My boots splashed in shallow water and the cold went right through the soles. "This is crazy," Eli muttered, his voice trembling between awe and fear. "It's like perfectly preserved down here." "Yeah," I said, running my hand along the wall. It was damp and gritty. "Too preserved." About 50 yards in, we reached a junction. The tunnel split in 2 directions. Left sloped downward, right curved slightly upward. "Which way?" I asked. Eli panned his light left and right. "Down always looks better on camera." "Yeah, and that's how people die." He grinned. "You're the one who said it's fine." Before I could argue, he was already moving. I sighed and followed. The deeper we went, the colder it got. Our breaths turned visible, fogging the beam of light ahead. The floor was slick now, coated in what looked like greenish sludge. The smell of metal gave way to something worse, something organic, sour and sweet at the same time. I tried to ignore it. Eli slowed. "Do you hear that?" At first I thought it was water, a slow, steady dripping somewhere ahead. But underneath it, faint and uneven, was another sound, like breathing. I turned off my flashlight. Eli did the same. Darkness swallowed everything. The sound grew clearer, ragged, wet. Someone, or something, was exhaling just around the bend. Eli's breathing picked up fast. "Maybe it's air vents or something." "There's no power down here," I whispered. We stood in silence. The breathing continued, slow and deliberate, as if whoever was doing it knew we were listening. I flicked my light back on. The tunnel was empty. "Let's just get a few shots and go," Eli said, voice shaking. He lifted his GoPro, filming the corridor ahead. The beam caught faded paint on the wall. Letters scrawled in red. "Almost lost under grime. Keep left, that was it." "Someone else has been here," I said. "Yeah. Or they were trying to find their way out." He started walking again, following the left turn. I hesitated, looking back toward the faint light from where we'd entered. It already looked too far away. Then I followed him. After maybe 5 more minutes, we found the first room. It was small, carved out of concrete, with a metal door half torn off its hinges. Inside were old shelves, shattered jars, and what looked like hospital equipment covered in dust. "This must have been part of the asylum's storage," Eli said. "Dude, this is gold." He started filming, narrating like he always did, talking about forgotten urban history and psychological resonance. I stayed near the door, shining my light into the corners. Something about the air in that room made my skin crawl. It wasn't just cold, it felt heavy, like the whole space was breathing around us. "Check this out," Eli said. He pointed his camera at a faded sign on the wall. It was cracked and stained, but I could still read the words. "Property of Brantley State Hospital. Specimen Archive." "Specimen," I muttered. "Like animals?" Eli shrugged. "Or patients." He laughed, but it didn't sound like a joke. Then his camera light flickered, once, twice, and went out. "Shit," he said. "Battery's dead." I lifted my flashlight higher. The shadows shifted across the walls in long and uneven. That's when I saw it. A handprint, pressed into the concrete, faint but fresh. Not painted, not drawn, pressed. The grooves looked deep, like the hand that made it had sunk straight through stone. "Eli," I whispered. "Look at this." He turned. "Holy, how's that even possible?" I stepped closer. The print was large, too large for a normal person. 5 fingers spread wide, the middle one dragging lower than the rest. "It's damp," I said. Like someone just... A noise cut me off. A metallic clang echoed from somewhere down the tunnel we'd come from. Eli froze. "What was that?" I turned my flashlight toward the corridor. The beam shook. Probably the door falling or something," I said. But then it came again, closer. Clang. Followed by the sound of dragging. Something scraping slowly across the floor. "Turn off your light." Eli hissed. We did. The sound didn't stop. It got louder. Scrape. Clang. Scrape. Something was moving toward us. metal dragging behind it. I felt my pulse hammering against my ribs. The air grew colder, and that smell, the rot, flooded back stronger than before. Eli grabbed my sleeve. "We need to go." We backed into the room, trying not to make noise. The dragging grew slower, deliberate, like whatever's it was, knew we were hiding. I held my breath. For a long moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, 3 sharp knocks on the metal door, not random, patterned. Knock. Knock, knock. Eli's eyes widened. He mouthed, "Who is that?" Before I could respond, the door, the half-hinged one, slammed shut on its own, trapping us in the room. The sound rang so loud it felt like my eardrums popped. The flashlight slipped from my hand and rolled across the floor, spinning its beam wildly over the walls. For just a second, I saw something standing outside the window slit, a pale face pressed against the glass, grinning. Then the light went out completely. The silence after the door slammed was worse than the noise itself. I could hear Eli breathing fast beside me, little gasps that echoed against the concrete walls. I didn't dare move. I didn't even try to pick up the flashlight. For a while, there was nothing. No footsteps, no dragging, no knocks. Just the slow drip of water somewhere above and our own terrified breathing. Then something scratched the metal door. Not a hand. Not fingernails. It sounded like a piece of metal dragged upward, slow, testing the surface. Eli grabbed my arm hard enough to hurt. His whisper came out broken. "We're trapped, dude." I cut him off. "Shut up." We waited. The scratching stopped. Then, faintly, a voice. It was low, muffled through the steel, but I swear I heard it say, "Keep left." I froze. My chest went tight. That's what had been written on the wall earlier. Eli's head snapped toward me. "Did you?" "Yeah." My mouth was dry. "I heard it." He backed away from the door, tripping over debris. The noise made a dull clang that echoed down the corridor. The voice stopped. For a few seconds, the air went dead still. Then the handle on the other side began to turn. It wasn't a fast twist, and it was slow, deliberate, like someone trying to make the mechanism move after years of rust. Metal screeched. Dust fell from the hinges. I lunged, grabbed my flashlight, and aimed it at the door. The beam flickered once, then steadied. The handle moved again, and then it stopped. Eli was whispering something to himself, too low to understand. His lightless camera hung limp around his neck. I took a shaky breath and whispered, "We run back." The way we came now, he nodded fast. I reached for the door. It didn't move. Rust locked it in place. I threw my shoulder against it once, twice, until the hinge finally gave and the door burst open with a scream of metal. We stumbled out into the tunnel. Empty. The corridor stretched into darkness both ways. The air felt thicker now, like smoke. "Let's go," I said. Eli didn't argue. We started back toward where we came in, the faintest draft of cold air guiding us. Our footsteps splashed in shallow water. For a few minutes, we didn't speak. The tunnel curved and sloped upward. I recognized parts of the wall, the same peeling paint, same pipe overhead. We were getting close, or at least we should have been. After another few hundred feet, I stopped. "Wait, what?" Eli gasped. I shined my flashlight ahead. The tunnel split again, into the same fork we'd seen before. Right sloping up, left down. The same graffiti was there. "Two, keep left." My stomach dropped. "That's impossible," I whispered. Eli's voice cracked. "We turned left before. We've been going the opposite direction." "I know." He started shaking his head. No, I've got the footage. I'll check the footage." He fumbled for the GoPro on his head, pulled the card, jammed it into his phone using the adapter he always carried. His hands trembled as he scrolled through the videos, then he went silent. "Eli?" He turned the screen toward me. The footage showed us walking. The same tunnel, same lighting. But when the camera panned past the junction, both paths went down. There was no upward slope in the video. No exit direction. Just endless descent. I stared at him, trying not to panic. "That doesn't make sense." He nodded slowly, eyes wide. "I think that's the point." We kept moving. We had to. Every few steps I marked the wall with the end of my flashlight, scraping dirt into a line so we'd know if we looped back again. After 20 minutes, we passed one of my own marks, then another. We weren't just looping. The space was changing around us. The pipes were different now, thicker, corroded, some missing entirely. The walls looked more organic, curving inward like the tunnel was growing smaller. The air temperature dropped so sharply that I could see my breath again. Eli muttered, "We're underground, right? So how does it get colder the deeper we go?" I didn't answer. My brain was running on pure survival instinct now. Something dripped onto my shoulder. I flinched and shined my light upward. Water ran down the ceiling, or what looked like water. It was darker, thicker. The smell hit me first, metallic like blood. I took a step back. Then I realized what I was seeing. Embedded in the ceiling, half swallowed by concrete, was a face. Human. Eyes closed. Mouth open, like someone had been screaming as the cement poured over them. I couldn't even move. I just stared, Eli gagged beside me. Jesus Christ, he swung his camera toward it, then froze. It's moving. The eyelids twitched, the mouth opened wider, stretching, cracking dried cement. Then, it screamed. Not loud. Not human. Just a low, guttural sound that made my bones vibrate. I dropped my flashlight and ran. We sprinted through the tunnel, splashing through ankle-deep water, slipping on moss and filth. I didn't care where we were going. I just needed distance. Eli was right behind me, his camera swinging wildly, the faint light bouncing off the walls. I didn't even realize we'd stopped until he slammed into my back. The tunnel had ended. Just ended. A concrete wall in front of us. No doors, no vents, nothing. I turned around, panting, my breath fogging in the air. Dead end, Eli whispered. The realization hit like ice water. We'd been running for maybe 5 minutes. Straight. The tunnel shouldn't have just ended. Eli leaned against the wall, trying to catch his breath. His GoPro light flickered, then steadied. Something glinted on the wall behind him. At first I thought it was water. Then I realized, and it was writing. He turned to look. Carved deep into the concrete were words that looked freshly scratched. Turn back. He's following you. Eli's breathing hitched. Who's he? Then we heard it again, scrape, clang, scrape, coming closer. I looked behind us. The tunnel was pitch black now, no sign of where we came from. The light from Eli's GoPro only reached a few feet before dissolving into dark. We started backing up, pressing against the wall. The sound came faster. Clang, scrape, clang, echoing metal against concrete. Hide the light, I hissed. Eli turned off his camera. Total darkness. The air felt electric, charged, then right in front of us. Breathing, shallow, wet. So close I could feel it on my face. I didn't dare move. Then something cold brushed my arm. A fingertip. Light. Testing. I jerked back. The breathing stopped, and a voice whispered, so soft I almost thought I imagined it. You shouldn't have come back. When Eli turned his light back on, the tunnel was empty again, but there was a smear on the wall, brownish red, streaking downward. It looked like a handprint dragging away. Eli's face was pale. We're not alone, man. We're not, his voice broke. From somewhere deep in the tunnel, we heard something run. Fast. Wet footsteps slapping against the floor. Coming straight for us, we didn't wait. We bolted. Eli tripped once, caught himself, kept going. The tunnel seemed to stretch longer with every step. Behind us, the footsteps never slowed. It sounded like more than one now. 2, 3 sets, running, chasing. I could feel them just out of reach. Too close, too fast. The walls blurred past. The air screamed in my ears, then ahead, a faint light. The opening, our way out. We sprinted harder, lungs burning, legs shaking. I reached the ladder first, grabbing the rungs, climbing 2 at a time. Eli was right behind me. Go, he yelled. I reached for the manhole cover and shoved it upward, but it didn't move. Stuck. Push harder. I did. My palms slipped. I tried again, every muscle shaking, nothing. Then right below me, I heard Eli stop climbing. Eli? Silence. I looked down. His light was still on, but he wasn't there. My voice bounced off the tunnel walls, swallowed instantly by the dark. The light from his GoPro still flickered below, swinging slightly, as if it was hanging from something. But there was no answer. I leaned down the ladder, shining my flashlight. Eli! Nothing but the sound of dripping water. Then faintly, tap, 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 3 slow knocks from below. I froze, gripping the rung so tight my fingers ached. Eli, if that's you, say something. Silence. Then, a whisper, not Eli's. Low, rough, right beneath me. Don't look down. My blood ran cold. Every instinct screamed to climb, to get out, to forget whatever was down there. But something inside me, maybe shock, maybe curiosity, made me look anyway. The light swayed, and in its glow, just for a split second, I saw something climbing up the wall beside the ladder. Not a person. It looked wrong. Too long. Too flat. Arms and legs bending the wrong way. Skin gray and wet, stretched over sharp bones, and where its face should have been, just a hole. A black gaping hole. I scrambled up the ladder, shoving at the manhole with everything I had. This time, it moved. I shoved it aside and dragged myself out, gasping, pulling air into my lungs like I'd been drowning. Cold night air, wet grass under my hands. I was back in Brantley Park, but something was off. The park lights, the ones that always lined the path, were out. Every single one. The only illumination came from the faint orange glow of the city beyond the trees. I turned back toward the manhole. It was open. A single hand gripped the edge, thin, gray, trembling. I didn't wait. I ran. I didn't stop running until I hit the edge of the park. My lungs burned, legs numb, heart hammering. I nearly collapsed when I reached my car. The passenger door was open. Eli's camera bag sat on the seat. For a moment, I couldn't move. I grabbed the bag, hands shaking, and checked inside. The GoPro was there, the same one that had been on his head. The battery light blinked red, about to die. I slammed the door, started the car, and drove. Didn't look back once. It was past 3 a.m. when I finally pulled into my apartment complex. The city felt unreal, too bright, too normal. My brain couldn't catch up. I went inside, locked every bolt, and sat on the floor with the GoPro. I didn't want to watch it, but I needed to know. So I plugged it into my laptop. The footage loaded immediately. The video started just like before. Me and Eli walking into the tunnel, joking nervously, our flashlights cutting through the dark. The audio was clean, except for a faint hum in the background. Then came the part where the door slammed. The scratching, the whisper. Keep left. I felt my stomach twist. I skipped ahead. At the point where Eli had fallen behind me near the ladder, the camera angle tilted downward. The footage got static for a few seconds, and then cleared. The camera was still recording. But Eli wasn't in frame. Instead, the light pointed upward, toward me. I could see myself on the ladder, pushing at the manhole. Behind me, in the dark, movement. A shape crawled from the tunnel wall. It reached up slowly, wrapping long fingers around Eli's leg. He didn't even scream. He just jerked once and vanished into the dark. The camera fell sideways, showing only concrete and shadows. Then breathing, not human, wet, guttural. Finally, something leaned close to the lens. I saw the hole again, where a face should have been, and then, in a whisper that sounded like 100 voices at once, it said, "Stay with him." The video ended. I don't remember falling asleep that night. When I woke up, the laptop was still open, screen dark, battery dead. Morning light poured in through the blinds. Birds chirped outside. It should have felt safe, but it didn't. I went to the sink to splash my face. My reflection looked pale, eyes sunken, like I hadn't slept in days. As I leaned closer, I saw something on my neck. A faint gray mark, like a bruise in the shape of a hand. I froze. Then the sound came. Faint, metallic from under my apartment floor. Tap, tap, tap. 3 slow knocks, the same pattern from the tunnel. Over the next few days, I tried to convince myself I was just traumatized, that I'd imagined it all. But then my phone started glitching. It would turn on by itself at night. The screen would light up with a video thumbnail, the same GoPro file. Even when I deleted it, it came back. One night, I woke up to the sound of whispering. It was coming from my laptop speakers. even though it was off. When I lifted the lid, the video started playing on its own. Static, low hum, faint breathing, and then Eli's voice. "Don't leave me down here." 2 days later, I went back to Brantley Park. I don't know why. Maybe guilt. Maybe madness. The police had already sealed the area with yellow tape. They'd found Eli's car still parked by the trail entrance. His wallet and phone inside, no body. No signs of struggle. The manhole I'd climbed out of was gone. I don't mean sealed. Gone. The grass was undisturbed. No concrete, no cover, nothing. Just earth. When I asked a park worker about the tunnels, he frowned. "There's no access tunnels here, man. Haven't been for years." I tried to argue, but he just shrugged. "You sure you weren't in Brantley North? That park's got old storm drains." No, I knew where I'd been. This was the place. I could still feel it. That night, back home, I decided to end it. I copied all the footage from the GoPro onto an external drive. I was going to take it to the police in the morning. Before bed, I set the drive on my desk. Then I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. This time, from inside the walls. My lamp flickered. The monitor turned on by itself. Static filled the screen. Then faintly the tunnel appeared, only now. The camera angle was different. It wasn't Eli's footage anymore. It was from behind me. I was back in the tunnel, climbing the ladder, looking down, and then from the dark, I saw my own face looking up. I yanked the plug from the wall. The screen stayed on, the image flickered, then cut to black, and then I heard the whisper again. Not from the laptop this time, from the hallway behind me. "Keep left." The power went out. The whole apartment dropped into silence, except for the faint dripping sound, like water hitting concrete. And then, from my living room, 3 slow knocks, tap, tap, tap. When I turned, the shadows on the wall weren't mine anymore. There were 2. I didn't move for a long time. The room was dark, silent except for that steady dripping, and the soft hum of something electrical that shouldn't have been on. My breath came out in quick, uneven bursts. I stared at the shadows, trying to make sense of them. 2 figures on the wall, one mine, one taller, thinner, moving even though I wasn't. When I finally turned around, the room was empty, but the air felt heavier, thicker, like it was full of humidity from underground. My floorboards creaked beneath my feet, and then I heard it again. The whisper. "Stay with him." It came from the vent near the ceiling, low, almost gentle. I ran, grabbed my car keys, bolted out the door barefoot, didn't even bother locking it. The street outside was dead quiet. It was close to 3 a.m., but the city felt completely empty. No cars, no wind, just silence. When I got to my car, my hands were shaking so badly I dropped the keys twice before I could unlock the door. The interior light flicked on. There was mud on the passenger seat. Not just a little. Streaks of dark brown mud, fresh, smeared across the upholstery, the floor mat, even up the dashboard. And carved into the fogged window on the inside were 3 words, written with a finger: "Keep left here." I backed away so fast I tripped over the curb. I couldn't breathe. I didn't even realize I was crying until I felt the salt on my lips. The park wasn't far, maybe a 10-minute drive. But somehow every streetlight between me and it was dark. Still I drove. I don't even remember making the decision. It just felt like I had to go back. The car seemed to know the way. When I pulled up to the edge of Brantley Park, the tape was gone. The grass looked wet, even though it hadn't rained. The air smelled like earth and rust. I parked under a dead street lamp and stepped out. The ground squished under my feet. Somewhere in the distance, something was humming, deep and low, like the sound of air moving through a pipe. And then ahead of me, I saw it, the manhole, back where it had been, open. My flashlight beam trembled as I pointed it at the hole. The ladder glistened with moisture. The dark below seemed to breathe. "Eli?" I whispered, even though I knew it was useless. The hum stopped. Then came the 3 knocks. Tap, tap, tap. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I just wanted it to end. Maybe I thought I could find him, bring something back, prove I wasn't crazy. I climbed down. The air inside was freezing. My light caught the same childlike drawings on the walls. Only this time there were more. Faces scratched out, replaced by black circles. The floor was slick with water, and the deeper I went, the quieter it got. No dripping, no echo. Just silence. I reached the place where the tunnel split. The faint writing on the wall was still there. Keep left. So I did. After maybe a minute, I saw something ahead, a small flickering light, like a candle. As I got closer, I realized it was a phone screen. Lying on the ground, Eli's phone. The screen was cracked, battery low, but still on. There was a video playing. Me, standing above the manhole, climbing out. The footage kept looping. Again and again. Behind me, in every loop, the same gray shape appeared closer each time. The whisper came again, right by my ear. Don't leave this time. I turned around. The whole face thing was there, inches away. It moved fast. I stumbled backward, fell hard, my flashlight skidding away. It crawled closer, dragging its limbs like something that had forgotten how to be human. I could hear its breath, wet, ragged, rattling through that hollow hole in its face. Eli, I gasped. Please, but it tilted its head, and then, with a sound like someone inhaling through water, a voice came out, not its own, mine. Keep left, it said in my voice. Then it lunged. I woke up lying on cold concrete. The tunnel was empty. My flashlight lay beside me, flickering. The air felt wrong, heavy, almost syrupy. I stood, but my legs didn't feel steady. My hands were gray. I stumbled to the wall, pressed my fingers to it. They left wet streaks behind. My reflection shimmered in the puddle near my feet, but it wasn't my reflection. The face staring back was pale, hollow-eyed, lips moving even though I wasn't speaking. Then I heard it, faint, above me. Someone opening the manhole, a voice calling down, "Hello? Anyone here? My name's Caleb. I'm with the city. We got reports of a tap, tap, tap." 3 slow knocks echoed through the tunnel. The sound wasn't coming from me, it was coming from the shadows behind him. I don't know how long it's been since then. Time doesn't work the same down here. I can still hear footsteps sometimes. People above the park, walking their dogs, jogging, laughing. They have no idea how thin the ground is beneath them, how easy it would be to fall through. I've seen others come down, explorers, kids, filmmakers, like me. The whispers always guide them. Keep left, and when they do, they stay. The thing that took Eli, it isn't one thing. It's many. It's us, our echoes, our reflections. It waits for the ones who trespass, the curious, the brave. The stupid it watches from the dark, wearing our faces, repeating our voices until they sound right, until they feel real. And when it's perfect, when it sounds exactly like you, it takes your place, up there living your life, smiling your smile. While you stay here, in the tunnels, whispering the same warning to the next voice that echoes through the dark. Keep left. The gate slammed behind me. That was the first sign I should have left. It wasn't the wind. I know what wind sounds like. This was metal on metal, slammed shut with force. I turned back, flashlight trembling in my hand, but the path behind me was already swallowed by fog. The iron bars stood tall and still, rusted over, sealed. I told myself it was just the breeze. I even laughed, a little too loud, trying to hear something human in the night. But deep down, I knew the air had been still the whole time. I shouldn't have gone in. The cemetery wasn't supposed to be open. I knew that. That was the whole point. An abandoned graveyard, forgotten for decades, somewhere on the edge of town. Perfect for a Halloween blog post. I wanted eerie photos, maybe a little backstory about the people buried there. Something real. The name on the broken gate read St. Hilda's Rest, letters half-eaten by rust. I'd never heard of it before. None of my friends had either. That's what made me curious. The moon was high but pale and barely cutting through the fog. Every sound felt magnified. The crunch of gravel, the soft buzz of insects, my own breath echoing in the cold. The graves stretched out in crooked lines, half of them sunken into the earth, others cracked open by roots that had grown too strong. A few had names, but most were blank from erosion. I started snapping photos. My phone screen glowed too bright in the dark. Every picture came out foggy, even when the air around me was clear. Then I saw them. Flowers. Fresh ones, placed neatly at the base of a grave that looked older than the rest. White lilies, still wet, like someone had just watered them. My stomach sank. Someone had been here. Recently. I glanced around. Flashlight beam darting over stone and grass. Nothing. Just fog and silence. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The caretaker's hut stood near the far end of the cemetery. Small wooden, leaning sideways under the weight of years. The door hung open a few inches. I hesitated at the threshold, shining my light inside. Dust floated in the beam. There was an old desk, a lantern, a stack of ledgers, and a single wooden chair. Everything smelled like damp earth and mold. On the wall above the desk hung a sign, hand-painted and faded. "Do not enter after dark. The grounds are not yours." I took a picture. My hand shook as I pressed the button. That's when I heard the shovel, a soft, steady scrape of metal against dirt. I froze. It was coming from outside and not far, maybe 10 or 15 feet away. I turned off my flashlight. The darkness swallowed me whole. Scrape, pause, scrape. Someone was digging. I crept to the doorway, trying to see through the fog. The sound echoed through the cemetery, slow and methodical. Whoever it was, they didn't care about being quiet. I thought maybe it was another explorer or a groundskeeper. I called out, "Hello?" The scraping stopped. Silence. Then after a few seconds, a voice. Low. Hoarse. "You shouldn't be here." Every hair on my neck stood up. The voice was close, maybe just beyond the fog. I could barely make out a shape. A hunched figure near the ground holding a long-handled shovel. "Sorry," I said, my voice cracking. "I didn't mean to, I'm just taking pictures." The figure straightened slowly. The shovel clanged softly as it hit the dirt. I lifted my flashlight and turned it back on. He was standing about 20 feet away. Old, at least 70, with pale skin and clothes caked in mud. His eyes caught the light like glass. "I take care of them," he said. His voice rasped like his throat was full of dust. "You're disturbing their rest." "I didn't touch anything," I said. "I'm just documenting. Historical stuff, you know?" He tilted his head, staring at me for a long moment. "There's nothing historical here," he said. "Only forgotten." Then he turned away and went back to digging. I took a shaky breath, trying to calm down. "Hey, I'm sorry," I said again. "I'll leave in a second." He didn't respond. The sound of the shovel started again, slow and heavy. I backed away toward the gate path, glancing at my phone. It was dead. It had been at 70% just minutes ago. I cursed under my breath and kept walking, but the fog grew thicker. I couldn't even see 5 feet ahead. When I looked back, the caretaker was gone. But the digging sound hadn't stopped. It was closer now, behind me. I turned fast, flashlight shaking. No one there, just an open grave, freshly dug. The shovel lay on the ground beside it, handle wet with mud. The grave was deep, maybe 6 feet, just like the old stories say. Inside, the soil looked darker, softer, almost breathing with the cold night air. I should have run. I know that, but something about it drew me in. The ground looked disturbed in a strange way, like there was movement underneath. I leaned forward slightly, shining the light down into the hole. There was something white half buried in the dirt. A hand. I gasped and stumbled back, nearly falling. My flashlight beam trembled across the edges of the grave. It was a body, a real body, and it was wearing the same jacket I was. I don't remember dropping the flashlight, but I heard it hit the dirt and roll. The beam spun wildly, lighting up trees and stones and fog. I turned to run, but the gate wasn't there anymore. Just fog. Endless fog. Footsteps crunched behind me, slow and steady. I turned around. The caretaker stood by the open grave, holding his shovel again. Only now he wasn't looking at me. He was looking down, into the hole, and something in there was moving. The hand twitched. The fingers curled, the body sat up, and when it turned its head toward me, I saw my own face staring back. I screamed and ran. Didn't care where, just away. I tripped over graves, stumbled through roots, tore my sleeve on an iron fence post. The fog followed me, thickening until it was all I could see. The only sound was my heartbeat and the distant scrape of the shovel. I don't remember how I found the caretaker's hut again, but I did. I slammed the door shut and pressed my back to it, chest heaving. The sound of digging stopped. For a moment, there was nothing. Then came 3 soft knocks on the door. Tap, 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 and the caretaker's voice. "You're standing in the wrong place." I didn't answer. Couldn't. The knocking stopped. Then, faintly, the whisper came again, from right behind the door. They don't like it when you don't listen. I held my breath. The knocking stopped, but the silence that followed felt heavier, like it was pressing against the walls. My flashlight flickered once, then went out completely. I was alone in the dark. I didn't dare move. The air smelled of damp wood and rot, and underneath it, something metallic, like blood or rust. I reached for my phone, but the screen stayed black. Dead. Again. That's when I heard footsteps. Slow, careful, circling the hut, crunching over gravel, scraping against wood. I pressed my back harder against the door. Every step sent a shiver up my spine. Then right by my ear, from the other side of the door, a whisper. They never left, you know. My throat tightened. Who? I croaked. The ones in the ground. Something scratched the door from the outside. Nails? No. It sounded softer, like fingers dragging slowly down the wood. Then the caretaker's voice again, lower this time. They don't rest easy when they're remembered wrong. I couldn't stay inside. Every instinct screamed to run, even if I didn't know where. I grabbed the door handle and pulled, but it wouldn't move. Locked, from the outside. I tugged harder, rattling the frame, but the old metal latch didn't budge. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it echoing off the walls. "Let me out," I yelled. "Please!" "I didn't mean to." The voice interrupted, calm and close. "You shouldn't have taken their picture." My blood ran cold. How did you know that?" I whispered. Silence. Then, very slowly, I heard the sound of the latch sliding. Click. The door creaked open an inch. Fog slipped in, curling around my legs. I pushed it open the rest of the way, stepping out carefully. My flashlight was gone, but the moonlight gave me just enough to see the path ahead. Faint, gray, shimmering through the mist. The caretaker stood near the open grave. He wasn't digging anymore. He was just standing there, still as stone, staring down into the hole. When I got closer, I saw that the grave was empty now. No body, just dark, wet soil. He didn't turn when I spoke. What happened to it?" He didn't answer. I took another step forward. Was there someone buried here? Still nothing. Finally, he said, "Everyone buries themselves here, sooner or later." Then he lifted his head and looked at me. His eyes didn't shine this time. They were dull, cloudy, like someone who hadn't blinked in years. "You shouldn't take pictures of what you don't understand." I backed away slowly. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'll delete them." "I'll go," he smiled, just barely, but it wasn't kind. "It's not the pictures that matter. It's the remembering." I didn't understand what he meant, but I didn't wait to ask. I turned and started walking fast toward the gate. The fog thinned a little ahead, enough for me to see the faint glint of the iron bars in the distance. Relief washed over me. I broke into a run, then the air changed. It got warm, too warm. The cold, damp smell of soil was replaced by something sickly sweet, like flowers left too long in stagnant water. And suddenly, the fog shifted. Shapes appeared, dozens of them, figures standing between the gravestones, pale, silent, still. Some half hidden in the mist, others closer. They weren't solid. The moonlight went straight through them, like smoke caught in human form. Every one of them was facing me, and every one of them had their hands clasped like they were praying. I froze mid-step. "Please," I said softly, voice shaking. "I just want to leave." The nearest figure tilted its head. The motion was small but wrong, too slow, too careful, like a puppet trying to mimic life. Then, all at once, their hands dropped and they started walking toward me. The sound of their feet wasn't normal. It wasn't footsteps. It was the sound of shifting dirt, like graves being opened. I ran, didn't look back, just sprinted toward the gate, heart hammering so hard I thought I'd pass out. When I reached the bars, I grabbed them and pulled, but they didn't move. I screamed. I kicked at the rusted metal until my boots slipped in the mud. Behind me, the sound grew louder, dozens of shuffling movements. Closer and closer. I turned around and saw nothing. The fog was empty again. The path behind me was clear. No one there, but the ground where the figures had stood, it was disturbed. Piles of fresh dirt, shallow holes, graves, open ones. I fell to my knees, shaking. My breath came in gasps. That's when I saw it, and my phone lying in the mud by the gate. The screen was glowing faintly even though it had been dead before. A notification popped up. New photos added. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely swipe it open. The gallery loaded slowly, the signal flickering in and out. There were dozens of new pictures, all of them of me, taken from different angles, all from inside the graveyard. Some were close-ups of my face, others of my back as I walked. One showed me standing by the caretaker's hut, another, me kneeling by the open grave, and the last one was of me lying in the grave, eyes open, still, just like the first body I'd seen. The phone slipped from my hands. I stumbled backward until my shoulder hit the gate. The caretaker's voice came from the fog again, distant, echoing. They always take a picture before it happens. My breathing turned shallow. Before what happens? But I already knew something was wrong with the air. It was getting colder again, thick, heavy, like the fog was pressing against my chest. My limbs felt slow, weak. The world dimmed around the edges, the light fading fast. I blinked, and the cemetery was gone. Just darkness. I reached out, felt soil under my hands. The smell of dirt filled my nose. When I tried to sit up, something brushed against my face. Wood, a rough plank above me. And when I tried to move my arms, they hit the sides of a box. My heart stopped. I screamed, pounding on the wood, kicking, clawing, but there was no give. My flashlight wasn't with me. The only light came from my phone, lying just out of reach near my feet, screen flickering. Dirt started to fall through the cracks, sprinkling over my chest. I screamed louder, but my voice hit the walls and went nowhere. Then I heard him again, the caretaker, muffled, distant, right above me. "I told you not to come after dark." I pounded harder, gasping. "Let me out, please." His reply came softly, almost sad. "It's too late for that now." Something heavy hit the lid above me. A shovel. The sound of dirt followed. Thick, heavy, steady. I screamed until my throat tore, until my hands bled from clawing at the inside of the coffin. The phone flickered one last time before dying completely. Darkness swallowed me. And through the layers of earth above, I could still hear him, slow, methodical. Calm, scrape. Pause, scrape. Burying me, alive. Then, just before I blacked out, his voice again, whispering through the soil, "Don't worry, I'll take care of you too." I woke up choking on dust and dirt. My lungs burned, my mouth felt packed with soil. For a second, I didn't understand where I was. It was too dark, too tight. I couldn't move my arms. My chest was crushed under something heavy. Then the smell hit me again. Earth, rot, wet wood, the coffin. It wasn't a nightmare. I was still inside. I screamed until my voice cracked. My fists pounded against the lid, but it was like hitting stone. My fingers slipped on the damp wood, nails tearing. The silence between my screams was worse, thick and alive, like the darkness itself was listening. Then I heard something move above me. A shift of weight, a faint scrape, and then a low rhythmic sound, shovel against soil. He was still out there, still burying me. I tried to control my breathing, counting in the dark like that would help. My pulse thundered in my ears. My hands found my phone again, cold and slick with dirt. I pressed the side button. Nothing. Dead. I hit it again. Nothing. But then faintly, it buzzed once. Just once, and the screen lit up for half a second. Not enough to see anything clearly, but enough to flash a single notification across the screen. Photo saved, IMG 141. I dropped the phone. My body went cold all over. Another picture of me. I slammed my shoulder against the side of the coffin, trying to break it, but it didn't budge. My fingers dug at the seams, ripping splinters loose. Something above me creaked. A voice. Quiet. Too close. "You're making it worse." I froze. It wasn't the caretaker's voice. It was softer, younger, a woman. "Who's there?" I whispered. She didn't answer. I could hear her breathing through the cracks, shaky, shallow, like she was crying. Then she said, "He did the same to me." I stared up at the lid. You're buried too?" Silence. Then faintly, "Not anymore." The wood above my face cracked once like something heavy had stepped on it. Dust rained down. I screamed again, this time in pure panic, but instead of more dirt falling, light appeared. A thin, white line split the darkness above me, then hands on pale, muddy, tore the boards apart. I saw her face for the first time. She looked wrong. Skin gray and wet, hair stuck to her face, eyes too wide, too empty. Her clothes were torn, soaked through with soil. She wasn't breathing, and yet, she smiled. "You can still leave," she said. "If you stop remembering." The boards above me collapsed completely. Cold air rushed in, burning my lungs. I crawled upward, pulling myself through the broken wood and mud. The woman's figure was gone. The graveyard stretched around me again, only now it was quiet. Too quiet, no fog, no caretaker, no wind, just stillness. The moon hung low, red and swollen. I stumbled out of the grave, shaking so hard I could barely stand. My hands were bleeding, my shirt torn. I tried to call for help, but my throat made no sound. That's when I saw the graves. Every one of them was open. Dozens of them. Empty holes yawning into blackness. And carved into the wet soil of each, scratched deep with something sharp, was a name. Mine, every grave had my name. I ran. Didn't think, didn't look back. Just ran. The gate loomed ahead and still shut, but this time the bars weren't rusted. They were clean, polished, new. I reached for them and they opened on their own. I stumbled through, falling onto the gravel road outside. When I looked back, the graveyard was gone. In its place, like a plain field of dry, dead grass. No tombstones, no hut, nothing. I stood there for what felt like hours, trembling, gasping for air that didn't feel real. Finally, I saw a light, headlights approaching fast. A pickup truck stopped a few feet away. The driver rolled down his window, an older man with a kind, worried face. "You all right, son?" "You look like hell." I nodded weakly. "The caretaker," I started. "He buried me." The man's expression changed. He frowned. "Caretaker?" "Yeah," I said, breath shaking. "The old man, the one who watches the cemetery." The man went still for a moment, then softly he said, "There's no caretaker. That place hasn't been used in 60 years. I stared at him, shaking my head. No, I saw him. He was there, he talked to me. He reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a folded newspaper clipping, yellowed with age. "Son," he said quietly, "I don't know what you saw, but the man who used to take care of that cemetery died back. In '63, got trapped in one of the graves during a storm." Felt my stomach drop. The man handed me the clipping. It was a grainy, black and white photo of the caretaker. Same hat, same coat, same hollow stare. The headline read, "Cemetery worker found dead in collapsed grave, buried alive while repairing flood damage." The ground beneath me seemed to tilt. My head spun. He'd been dead for decades, then who the hell buried me? The man offered me a ride. I didn't argue. The inside of the truck smelled like coffee and gasoline. He talked softly as we drove, asking if I needed the hospital. I barely heard him. All I could think about was my phone. It was in my pocket, caked in dirt. I turned it over, wiped the screen, and pressed the power button. It lit up. Battery full. No missed calls. No photos. Except one. Just one file left in the gallery. I opened it. Heart racing. It was me, standing outside the caretaker's. But this time the photo wasn't taken from a distance. It was from behind me, and behind me, standing over my shoulder, and was the caretaker smiling. I dropped the phone. It hit the floorboard and slid under the seat. The driver glanced at me. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said automatically. "Just tired," he nodded. "We'll be in town soon. You can rest there." But as we passed the bend in the road, I looked out the window, and through the trees in the distance, I saw it again. The graveyard, perfectly intact, every stone upright, every grave closed, and standing at the gate, the caretaker. He lifted his hand and waved. The truck's engine sputtered. Headlights flickering. The driver cursed under his breath. Damn thing's dying on me again. The radio crackled with static. And through it, just for a second, I heard a voice. Faint, but clear. "Mine. I told you not to come after dark." The driver looked confused. "You hear that?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat closed up. I stared out the window again, and the caretaker was gone. The graveyard too. Just darkness. But in the reflection of the glass, behind my own face, I could see another, the caretaker's smiling, closer than ever. The truck's headlights flickered again, and for a second everything went dark. When they came back on, the driver wasn't looking at the road anymore. He was staring straight ahead and eyes wide, mouth open, frozen. "Hey," I started, but the word barely left my throat. There was someone standing in the middle of the road, the caretaker, hat low, coat dragging, head tilted just enough to show that same small, knowing smile. The driver slammed the brakes. The truck skidded sideways, tires screaming against gravel, and the world became a blur of movement and noise. When everything stopped, I was half out of my seatbelt, chest heaving, ears ringing. The headlights illuminated an empty road. The caretaker was gone, but the smell, that damp, earthy smell of wet soil, it filled the cab. "Jesus," the driver whispered, gripping the wheel. "Did you see that?" I nodded, shaking. He was right there." "You saw him too?" The driver didn't answer. He was looking down at his hands. They were covered in dirt. He stared at them, confusion twisting across his face. "What the hell?" Then his nose started bleeding. A slow, thick stream of dark blood dripped down to his chin. He wiped it away, muttering, it's fine." But his voice sounded wrong, deep, echoing, like two people speaking at once. "And stop the car," I said. He turned to me slowly, eyes wide and bloodshot, and when he spoke, it wasn't his voice anymore. "You shouldn't have left him alone." The truck lurched forward on its own. The gas pedal sank even though neither of us was touching it. The headlights cut through the trees and the forest outside looked wrong. Twisted shapes, shadows moving where there shouldn't be any. The driver's hand stayed on the wheel, but his head dropped forward, chin to chest. His breathing stopped. "Hey!" I grabbed his shoulder. He didn't move, but his hands, they were still gripping the wheel. When I tried to pull one away, the skin came loose like it had been dead for a long time. I screamed, scrambling for the door. The handle wouldn't budge. The truck's locks clicked shut one by one. Then the radio came alive again, crackling, whispering. At first, just static. Then my own voice. "Please let me out. Please." It was me. The same words I'd screamed in the coffin. The sound looped again and again, quieter each time. Then another voice joined. The caretaker's. "You can't bury what's already gone." The world outside blurred as the truck sped faster, branches scraping the sides, sparks flying from the gravel. Through the windshield, I could see faint lights ahead, a house at the end of the road, wooden siding, porch light flickering. It looked familiar, too familiar. The caretaker's hut. The truck slammed to a stop in front of it, engine dying with a hiss. The silence after was suffocating. I opened the door. This time it gave way easily. I stumbled out, legs numb, air thick in my lungs. The house looked older now. The boards warped, windows dark. The same shovel leaned by the door and the same smell hung in the air, damp, rotten earth. Inside, a dim light flickered. I should have run. But something about the silence pulled me forward. I stepped onto the porch. The boards groaned beneath my weight. When I opened the door, it swung inward without a sound. The caretaker was sitting in the same chair, hands folded over his knees. He didn't look up. "You came back," he said. His voice was softer this time, almost gentle. "You never really left, did you?" I stood frozen in the doorway. "What are you talking about?" He looked at me then, his face calm but his eyes hollow. "You can't leave once you've been remembered." "I'm not dead," I whispered. He nodded slowly. "That's what they all say." Something creaked behind me. I turned. The woman, the one who dug me out, stood in the doorway now, her head tilted, hair dripping mud. Her eyes glistened in the faint light. She smiled faintly. "He keeps them all." I backed away, shaking my head. No, I left. I escaped and the caretaker rose to his feet. "You walked away from the grave, but the grave didn't walk away from you." The woman moved closer. "We didn't either." I stumbled backward and hit something hard on the wall. The room felt smaller now, the air thicker. The caretaker reached for the lantern on the table and lifted it. The flame inside flickered brighter. In its glow, I saw them, dozens of faces behind him, faded, hollow, watching from the shadows, and men, women, children all gray and still, half-formed in the dark, every one of them with dirt-streaked skin and blank eyes, every one of them staring at me. My breath came in shallow bursts. "What do you want from me?" The caretaker smiled, and that same small, polite smile. "Nothing. We just want to remember you properly." He reached out, placing something on the table between us. My phone. I looked down. The screen was on, glowing faintly. Another new image had appeared. It was me, standing in the hut, surrounded by them. The caption underneath read, "IMG 142, remembered." I dropped the phone. The caretaker picked it up and slipped it into his coat pocket. "You won't need this anymore." He turned toward the others and nodded once. They all stepped forward, hands reaching. I screamed and bolted for the door, but when I flung it open, there was no road outside, just rows of headstones, fog rolling over the ground, and the sound of shovels in the dirt. I turned back, desperate, but the caretaker was gone. Only the open grave remained, waiting, my name carved neatly into the wooden marker. The woman stood beside it, holding the shovel. She looked at me with something almost kind in her eyes. "It's easier if you don't fight it," then she smiled. And the last thing I saw was the shovel rising. When I woke again, I wasn't breathing. The world was silent. I could see the inside of the coffin above me, but I didn't feel the panic this time. I didn't feel much of anything, just calm. And then, light seeped through the cracks. A faint, white glow. I pushed upward, the wood splintering easily, and climbed out. The cemetery was empty. The air was still. I stood there for a long time, staring at the sunrise through the mist, and then I heard footsteps behind me, a voice, soft, new. "Hello? Is anyone here?" A young man holding a camera. He pointed it toward me and smiled nervously. "Sorry if I'm trespassing. Just doing a photo project." "You work here?" I smiled back. "Yes." My voice came out rough but steady. "I'm the caretaker." The boy raised his camera. "Can I get a quick shot?" "The light's perfect." I tilted my head, watching him through the fog. "Of course," I said softly, "but make it quick." The flash went off, bright and white. For a split second, I saw the reflection in his lens, my own face, gray, hollow, eyes like stone, and behind me, all of them, waiting. He lowered the camera, frowning. "Weird, but the photo didn't save." I smiled faintly. "Don't worry, it will." Then I turned toward the open graves, and somewhere far below I heard the shovel start again. Scrape, pause, scrape, the cycle continuing.